the snowy regions of of Wisconsin right now. So I heard from my parents this morning that Vermont, at least up in northern Vermont, got away from some of the snow, but we didn't miss it out here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
We've got
so
some.
anyway, we'll call the meeting back to order. We have our members, all but one here. One's on Zoom with you folks, so we'll introduce ourselves.
Brian Collmore, I represent the Rutland District.
Irene? Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, Brian Campion, Bennington District. Good morning.
Rich Westman, the Lamoille District.
And Bobby Starr from Orleans District, and Senator Wiener is from Chittenden, northern Chittenden County, and a little bit of Franklin, and she's on Zoom. So we have E.B. Flory with us from the Ag Agency, and we also have Steve with us, who's the attorney at the Ag Agency. So we'll get started right up here and get rolling. We had a meeting last week with our, well, we have off and on now for about a month, been talking with our organic dairy people, and we had a joint meeting with the House about 2 weeks ago, and the House voted out a proposal tacked on to the budget bill that would pay our organic guys $5 a hundredweight for their milk that they produced in calendar year 2022. And the estimated price of that was $9.2 million. And there was a placeholder put into the Budget Adjustment Act to kind of hold that, but no plan for distribution of any type, and no plan that this would fix it for next year or this year we're in right now or down the road. And I thought it would be good to have you folks in and tell us a little bit how organic milk is it priced off the federal milk market ordering plus something else, or how it is dealt with, and why, like we saw, like this past year, conventional milk kind of went up pretty good in price, but yet organic milk has stayed stagnant, and if anything, maybe it's gone down. And you know, could you guys buy the bulk of the milk, organic milk here in Vermont? We need to build a reason to spend the 9.2 million, and if that's going to get us out of trouble so our organic guys can continue on or not. So I don't know, Travis, probably you're the most experienced in some of those questions, and or Ralph would be, because you buy milk both for Stony Fields as well as the yogurt plant, I believe. So could you introduce yourselves, and we'll go from there.
Rolf, I'll hand it's the first time I've been in a meeting where Rolf doesn't have a jacket on and I do. So I'm going to let him speak first.
Yeah,
Now you put me back there, Travis. Well, good morning, everybody, and I'd like to start off by thanking the state of Vermont for adjourning this meeting and having us come to testify on this crisis that's going on for the organic dairy producers in the region. So very much appreciated having the meeting. So my name is Rolf Carlson. I am down here in Londonderry, New Hampshire. I've been with Stonyfield for just a little over 17 years, and my responsibilities span the milk sourcing, but corporate quality and sustainability here in Londonderry for Stonyfield. Stonyfield is part of the Lactalis group. We were divested from Danone, another large French dairy processor, in 2017. And my responsibilities have been for the last 17 years of sourcing the organic milk here in Londonderry, working very closely and hand in hand with the folks here at Crop as well to bring in a supply into Londonderry. So did you want me to just do the introductions, or do you want me to answer to some of your questions there that you originally put out there?
I think we could go right to the questions, because, we've got a little over an hour and so you may as well go right to the questions.
Okay, so very good. So you wanted to know how organic is priced. I do need to start off with a little bit of a caveat saying that in respect to antitrust guidelines, we can't go into great detail about our pay price program here in Londonderry. But what I can tell you is that, organic pricing generally does not follow the federal order pricing system. I'm sure you folks know quite a bit about that, but the federal order pricing system for conventional is based on 4 commodities traded on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange: butter, powder, cheese, and whey. And based on those pricings in those commodity markets, they come up with a pricing structure around the country to the different federal orders for Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, and Class 4. So, what I can share with you is that, yes, I agree that probably from the period of 2017 through 2021, organic dairy prices were on a decline. And that was, I think, a reflection of for a period of around 5 years of oversupply of organic milk. Okay. And there were some processors having severe difficulties managing the balance. And, if the milk has to be sold, a lot of times it was being discounted down to a conventional price. So the oversupply that was experienced from 17 to 21 put downward pressures on the organic market overall in this country. But then, I would say in the last year, we were able to respond to some of the inflationary prices. In 2022, we were a little bit lagging behind, but we did for Stonyfield make 2 price adjustments to respond to the inflationary pressures that were being experienced by the organic dairy producers. I wish that the changes or price increases reflected all of the pricing pressures, but I think they were more in line with the inflationary impacts they were seeing with labor, fuel, and maintenance, and not completely in feed there. Okay. And why was that? Because also I can tell you is at Stonyfield, we did take price increases on our products, also to not only offset the changes in our milk price, but then also the inflationary pressures we were seeing here in Londonderry for fuel, labor, and everything across the board, other supplies, ingredients, and packaging. Our ability to increase the price is impacted by the universal pressures of inflation on businesses. So not only were we looking to cover the farmers, but also the impacts we were seeing here. But on the other end are our consumers, and our consumers, you in Vermont, you see that's going on with your constituents, are facing significant inflationary pressures across the board. and they have to make decisions on what to buy and how to buy it. And we find that in the yogurt category, and I think it follows a lot with the rest of organic, consumers are making decisions to buy less, to go to private label, and then in some instances to buy less organic and switch to conventional. So our ability to raise prices and also then pass on those price increases to our dairy farmers has a limit. And we are, I think, at a precarious balance where if we raise prices too much more, we will be losing business and therefore not able to buy milk or sustained purchases of milk from our producers. So it's a double-edged problem there when it comes to the pricing. You mentioned about the federal order pricing. The United States is going on to global market pricing for conventional dairy. Exports in this country continue to rise. China for years has been a big importer. Mexico had some droughts. So some of the commodity prices that you saw in 2021, or let's say the conventional milk prices, were reflected on a couple of things. One is increases in the price on the commodities, which are the basis for the milk price. But then also some reductions in production in the conventional milk market. So there was a significant uptick in the demand for cheese in the United States, with some processing capacities added in the Midwest, and then subsequently some powders being exported to China and Mexico. Recent trends we're seeing are the conventional prices are coming down. Cheese and powder and butter are some of the foundational products that lead into the milk price. And on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and in the futures prices, they are going down. So you were talking about a high price last year, and organic didn't follow. I would say organic in 2022 was following more of a right balancing of supply, and it flattened out with some increases to the farmers to recognize a portion of the inflation they were seeing. Do you want me to pause, or do you want me to continue? I can.
Well, yeah, our appropriations committee is, kind of charged us with of drawing up a plan to help our Vermont dairy guys, organic dairy guys, out. I mean, I think it would be good to know, how long do you feel that this trend is gonna last, or do you have any idea on a time frame? So, how's 23 looking? We're getting towards the end of 2 months, end of 23. Is there any light at the end of the tunnel? So if we bail our guys out, for what went on last year, is there a way out of this without more money next year, from us? And so what's your take on that, Ralph?
Okay, well, if you could indulge me for a couple of minutes, and then I'll turn it over to Travis a little bit more. I want to penetrate this a little bit deeper. One of the areas.
Travis has to leave in a little bit, so it'd be good to get him on in the next 5 minutes or so.
Okay, so I'll try to keep it to 2 or 3 more minutes. One area where the organic dairy producers are experiencing significant pressure is in the area of feed. Okay, and with feed, there were a couple of events that occurred in the last 2 years that have put a significant amount of pressure on the feed. First is there was a trade dispute with India regarding the importation of organic soybeans, which was a big source of the feed for New England and the rest of the country. And then most recently, the war in Ukraine and the area of the Black Sea region also are exporters of organic grain. We did see, using data from Marcaris, not from the USDA, we did see soybeans go up in 2022 to $40.52 per bushel, which was an increase of 110% from the previous year. Okay. The good news is that other regions around the world have started to come up and produce organic grains to fill that void, and soy now is not down to that $19 a bushel level, but it's around $31 a bushel. So we are seeing some relaxation or less price volatility because of the ban on the imports of Indian soybeans and the war in Ukraine. So to your question is, it still is difficult for the organic dairy producers or anybody with or needing organic feed, but there are some signs of lessening. But just to give you an example, is on the conventional side, soybeans were ranging $13 to $17 a bushel, and last fall they were at $14.50. So on the conventional side, they were not seeing the volatility or the impacts of restrictions on importations or the war in Ukraine. Okay, so feed is the biggest area. I think the response to help the farmers, the organic dairy farmers, through this is going to be a multi-pronged approach. And so again, I want to thank the Vermont legislature for this, and chime in is that we're very appreciative and supportive of the consideration you're taking and maybe the work you're undertaking to provide some support to the dairy farmers. Crop and Stonyfield have also worked with the USDA on getting relief funding for organic dairy producers, and there's $100 million emergency relief that has been earmarked. It has yet to be distributed, but we're hoping that will be coming soon. And then also on the front there is that the organic USDA also has $300 million earmarked for funds that support transitioning to organic, all right, down the road. And we're very supportive of that and think that needs to be part of that needs to be funds for transitioning of organic grains in this country to become more self-sufficient and secure. So we have come forward with some price changes to our farmers to support them with what I'd say normal inflationary impacts. We're pushing passionately with the USDA, and we really appreciate the support they've given. We're looking with the state of Vermont, and we need to collaboratively build a path forward to make this a more secure and stable environment for the organic producers. Maybe I think I can probably turn it over to Travis, but maybe just one last piece is I think there was a question about transport and fuel. We are seeing some relief in diesel prices, okay, versus the peak we had in 2022. In December, January, it did flatten out a little bit, but I'm a little bit bullish that those prices will continue to get to more reasonable levels. But just to let the Vermont legislature know is that on our end, versus unlike conventional, we are paying for, Stonyfield is paying for the transport of the milk, the hauling coming in from the farm to the factory here. So that impact or burden is on Stonyfield and not going necessarily to the dairy farmers on our organic producers. Okay, I think that was a question, and I would try to anticipate maybe that being raised later on.
Yeah, well, it would have been coming, but thanks for offering it. We'll switch over to Travis and then we'll come back, Ralph. So good morning, Travis. I know you haven't got long to be with us, but we'll take what you can deliver.
Well, no problem. Good morning, Bobby and committee members. In the sake of time, we sent over some testimony for you, so you'll have a written testimony. I do, want to introduce myself a little bit and then just give you what we're seeing from a cooperative view, not just in Vermont, but just overall general on the organic level. You know, as I said, my name is Travis Forbes. I'm the Executive Vice President of Membership at Organic Valley. But most of my life was spent as a dairy farmer in Vermont and in northern Vermont. So I fondly know that Bobby and I have been talking about dairy issues for 30 years and fighting the same problem of how to get farmers paid fairly and adequately for a very long time. You know, we have about 95 dairy farmers in Vermont. It represents about 17%, give or take, of all the dairy farms in the state. So I'm going to skip through some of my testimony, just to talk about a little bit about what we've seen, because of course we have a lot of feedback with farmers. There is no doubt there is challenges and crisis across the country when it comes to how the farmers are faring. I do want to say there has been downward pay price pressure from other companies. I will also say Organic Valley has not been part of that. I'm not going to speak for my counterpart, but I feel pretty good to at least say that I think we can feel pretty safe in this conversation that we have been steady. In 2023, we've increased pay price in the Northeast in across the country of 50 cents a hundredweight more to our farmers. We did have a small increase last year as well. So we have been holding steady and slowly coming back up from the heydays of 2016. And that gold rush that was really driven by a lot of reasons wasn't sustainable. And I mean, the other piece at organic agriculture, driven by the concept that Organic Valley has been doing for 34 years, is stable, not connected to conventional, that goes up and down. That it is a stable pay price. When I first joined the Organic Valley truck, well, organic cow truck, which for a company that doesn't exist anymore in 1997, pay price was $18 and stable. And now we're well over $30 nationally, more like $32 in Vermont on a stable pay price. So just want to put that out there. We're doing everything we can do. The farmers look at what's going on when we have to increase prices and all the increased inflationary costs that we are all fighting, and say, you know, okay, where are you doing with that pay price or that increase to the retail market? What's happening with that money? We have increased to the market. In some ways, pretty scary price increases out here. I can go to the local stores here and see our gallons at $10, $11 a gallon. I can see it at $6.50, $7 a half gallon. And we're asking people to pay that price. And we're not able to return a huge amount of that money back to farmers. And in reality, the cost of what we're seeing to just get what we used to be able to do to get it to the shelves has gone up almost, 40%. You heard about fuel, up 40%. Is it going to come down? Yes. Is it down anywhere near where it was before? No. The cost of doing business from our farms, right up from picking up that milk to getting it to the shelf, has all gone up. So I am sad to say that as 2022 is ending and we don't have a final number, Organic Valley as a cooperative is going to lose money. We have made a decision to hold a steady pay price. We made that decision in 2022. Our largest cost of goods is farmer milk, and it's a little bit over of our total cost of goods is over a majority. It's over 50%. So when farmers, or we all hear, you guys all say, where's all the money? You guys, there's got to be money that's rolling in. It's not in the pockets of at least this cooperative. We're not seeing those dollars translate to big fat profits here. We're actually we made a decision to lose a small amount of money to be able to hold pay price for farmers. As we go into 2023, we have a small profit goal, and we have raised pay price that 50 cents, which doesn't sound like a lot to farmers, which is true. It is an $8 million increase to pay price to our farmers across the country that we are actively infusing into the country. And so it doesn't feel like a lot. It is a lift, especially in this marketplace when we just lost money in 2022. Do we wish we could do more? Absolutely. Rolf hit on something that's really important. A lot of the costs that farmers are seeing now are entirely out of our control. The war in Ukraine is not something we control. The trade wars with India and super tariffs are out of our control. So how do we, so the feed issue that we're running into is absolutely real and not a lot we can control. What we can do is spur domestic growth, spur the concept of being able to have grains here in the US. And there is federal work on that being done now, which we support. If you are asking me to look into a silver or the glass ball and tell you, will things be better in 2024, 2023 as we move forward? I think we're all starting to see little things. We're optimistic that organic dairy is not going away, and that cost should come down. Some of those we're all watching to see, is a recession on its way? You know, are we going to see a depression? Are we going to see a recession that will then affect feed costs for our farmers, fuel costs for our farmers? Those all isn't about a pay price increase, but maybe getting costs down to where it's a little more reasonable. Is there a answer by going to the consumer to say, generate more dollars or to take it out of profits, at least in Organic Valley's cooperative? The answer right now is no. And it would be very dangerous, I think, to increase any additional cost to a consumer that's very much under inflationary pressures as well. So how do we help? Rolf brought up the work that we've all been doing with the $100 million. I'm going to say candidly here, thank you for Senator Leahy. We are all going to miss Senator Leahy and what he helped us do on a federal level to help dairy farmers, not just in Vermont, but from across the country. But thank goodness he was there at the very end to say, we're going to help farmers here with what's going on. So that's a big deal. What you are all doing, and I know it's such a challenge, especially to say, how do you help one set of farmers and not the rest? And to even have the conversation is courageous, hard, courageous. I can't guarantee you all, I'm not going to sit here and guarantee that we have an answer and a fix, but we're all fighting diligently to try to find that for our farmers. And we're not going to stop. Again, we're optimistic that things will get better, that we're trying to do things to make things better. Organic Valley, of course, has just gone through executive transition. Jeff Frank is our new CEO. Jeff brings a wealth of knowledge from his background in sales and marketing. And we have a history here that if we do better than we're expecting, we return our dollars to our farmers. And that won't change. That is what we are. That's what we're built. And Jeff is fully behind doing that. So we are actively doing everything we can do to return dollars to our farmers. And at the same time, understand that we're not doing enough for what is happening in the countryside. I do believe the pain is real. I do believe that these dollars, any dollars that are generated, and I'm not telling you what the numbers should be from you all, but any dollars that are generated from any state legislature that's going to help farmers right now is a well worth investment. As a former Vermont farmer, I know how important your water, your soils, your economy is, and any investment into Vermont with keeping these farmers as viable as possible, even if we don't have an answer for our long-term situation, is something that Vermont will reap benefits from. And I think that that's also important. I applaud you for the courageous work that you're doing to even have this conversation, and any other help that we can bring to the table in the form of data or any others support, we'd be happy to do that. With that, I'll turn the mic back to you, Bobby.
Yeah, well, thank you, Travis. We got a couple of questions, Brian.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. What have you heard other states are doing in this regard?
I have not heard very much. This is pretty impressive. Let's just say you're a leader in this conversation. I haven't heard much from any other states that are going out this aggressively to make this kind of statement. Now, doesn't mean it won't come. And I also think it's a keen eye that you all have of how important your small farms are to your economy and to your tourism and all those pieces that maybe highlights something that's so important at being dairy in such a small area. It has been so important for Vermont to not lose, that you guys might be a little bit ahead of the curve. So I wouldn't say we won't see it from other states, but you guys are definitely leading the charge right now.
But the farmers in the other states are pretty much facing the same challenges, right?
They are. Yes, sir.
Well, I learned years ago, you want to stay ahead of the curve or you're going to get run over or run off the road. So we're trying to do that. Just a quick question, 20 odd years ago, we did a pretty in-depth milk study, when we were doing the dairy compact, many years ago. And, because we wondered where's the money? And we chased that down through, and we found that the retailers were the ones that were doing pretty well in the milk business. And so, you know, we don't know if that's true or not true, but it was true back many years ago. My question though is, some of your members, do they belong to other groups where they have to pay dues, or do they just pay dues to you folks as a member, or how does that part work?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have lots of membership that is, let's just say, dual membership. So we have relationships with farmers that are also part of DFA, and they have their own payments to being part of that cooperative. If you're talking about our cost particularly,
Well, do they, just that, if they're a member, do they pay dues?
yes, they sure do. And each co-op, we've had up to 25 or a little bit lower right now of dual membership. And a lot of farmers have really enjoyed having, you know, I was a St. Albans co-op member, very much was committed to St. Albans. And I had my dues to St. Albans. People have DFA, NFO. Every one of those has different costs that go to the farmers. Some of them are small, some of them are larger. Some of them bring different services. When it comes to the dues at Organic Valley, we're pretty unique in that manner. We don't have a due that comes off of their check. And we have an investment in the cooperative, but we actually pay a 4 to 8% dividend on that on a yearly basis. So it's not like we're retaining money that's in a revolving that they don't get money back. We are actually, they're getting paid a 4 to 8% dividend, which is based on the board of directors decision. Usually 8%. It's usually how that works with farmers voting on their own dividend return. So we're pretty proud that we don't have a lot of deducts. And just like Rolf mentioned, the vast majority of hauling is on the business's cost. There is a small fee for Organic Valley that is on a 100-weight basis, but it's a very small number when you're talking about hauling overall compared to other cooperatives.
Well, I know, hauling costs have gone up tremendous, and here in Vermont, with our small farms, we put money aside to help with driveway fix up so trailers can get in, or 10-wheelers, get larger bulk tanks for every other day pickup instead of every day. And I was just wondering if they had to pay dues at both places, and how much of their milk check was going to cover the dues, that they have a choice to make, or can make determinations whether they want to continue that or not continue it. So
our farmers have a choice of handlers. And so we work with a wide variety of groups, and so farmers can make a choice. For example, there's investment, my apologies, in DFA that you don't necessarily need to do with NFO. NFO is a very different organization, but there are services and people have to decide of what they want to spend. When it comes to Organic Valley, there's very little there. I think if you went through and looked at what was going on for the services that we are charging any of our farmers off of their overall top line pay, it's very small. It really is just their overall 5.5% investment that once they're paid in, they don't have to pay anymore. And there is a small hauling fee, but after that, they're not seeing anything come off of that paycheck.
yeah. Well, I know we've kept you longer than you had, but thanks a lot for being with us, Travis.
Yes, thank you guys. And Rolf, I'll see you in a couple of weeks or I'll see you next week. Rolf and I are meeting up next week in New Hampshire.
Look forward to seeing you, Travis.
All right, see you guys.
Yeah,
care.
thank you. So, back to you, Ralph. Have you noticed sales drop some, over this, over the last couple of years?
Well, so what's interesting is for Stonyfield, we measure ourselves within the yogurt category. Okay, we license out the Stonyfield brand for the fluid milk, so we're not heavily engaged with that, and our core is on the yogurt. And as you probably know, with dairy, you don't see multiples of percentages as far as high levels of growth. So a 2 to 3% growth in a year is usually considered very, very good. I would say during COVID, we did well. The organic yogurt did well for numerous reasons. One is I think there was a relation that consumers were concerned what they're eating in their health. They were staying home. They were making decisions for their children, how to feed them. So, kids not going to school and mom and dad having to buy food for the children at home greatly influenced yogurt consumption. You mentioned before that the conventional prices, there was a great deal of volatility. And in 2021, we had record conventional prices. So, the other conventional yogurt producers were having challenges, and we did not see the price go up as much for organic. So we were, again, a relatively better proposition for consumers. We are forecasting this year, and anybody that will tell you what the market's going to be, I would say stay away from. But we have witnessed or seen, I would say, in the last 6 months of 2022, particularly the last quarter and the beginning of this quarter of this year, a decline, just slightly going negative for the yogurt category. Okay, in sales. Okay, and I believe that's a response to across the board yogurt processors taking inflationary price increases with their customers, and again, it's not just yogurt, but consumers making a decision that, well, they maybe have to buy less, or be more selective in the choices. So we are seeing that. One thing that is a worry for us here at Stonyfield, and I think maybe this is similar for other organic processors, is the relative price point between conventional and organic. If the category is not growing and you have competition out there, they will try to look for share. Okay, and as I mentioned to you a little bit earlier, while the conventional prices for Class 2 milk are not near pre-2021 levels, they have come down. And what that's doing is allowing conventional processors to have money in their coffers to compete. And what you'll see at the retail level is trade deals or coupons or promotions. So that what they want to do is cover their overheads and costs. So if you were to talk to people here within Stonyfield, there's caution about the market growth, and there's some views, and we're hoping that this does not come true, that a 3 to 5% decline in consumption tonnage. Okay, we're watching that very, very closely, but I will give you a little bit of a heartening news here for Stonyfield and Londonderry and maybe New England. If you folks were to drive down here to Londonderry, you'd see a major expansion that started last year, and we're investing nearly $30 million last year and this year for building and then infrastructure, wastewater, utilities, to put capabilities for 2 new production lines. Okay, so while I was giving you a little bit of some of the short-term worries we see in the market, we are also still bullish about our business, our brand, and what we're doing. Okay, and and that goes to maybe us being in nearly 40 years business of organic and organic dairy. So being authentic, but we're looking to put production in here. We currently produce around 70% of our products in Londonderry. Some are handled elsewhere with third-party manufacturing. But I'm proud to say that what we're putting in here is for additional growth.
So is that growth a new product, or is it expanding the products that you already do produce?
Okay, my general manager probably would shoot me, but I'll share a little bit with you. Is in the yogurt category, particularly for us, is we're successful with the children and babies products. Again, consumers and moms and dads, particularly moms, want their children to get off to a good start. We over-index in the market share for our baby and kids products. Okay, parents want their kids to get off to a very, very good start. So while our share overall in the yogurt category is smaller than the large conventional players like Chobani, Yoplait, and Danone, we compete toe to toe on the kids and babies products. And so that's where we're experiencing good growth. During COVID, there was a shift from small single cup consumption to larger cup consumption. Okay, and the good news there is that it puts tons through the factory, and so we have done some work to expand existing capacity in our factory here with existing lines on the large cup, and then also we have 2 drink lines here in Londonderry that are doing well. So one of our wheelhouses is kids and baby products, and we continue to succeed on that. Like I said, it's an amazing story if you were to look at the market share of Stonyfield kids products against the Yoplaits and the Danones of the world. And then we are doing well on some of our core business products.
Yeah, because I think to keep our farms all well and healthy and producing, we need new products from time to time. And is that, I know the $100 million that we talked about earlier, that's, I believe, in the USDA, is some of that money set up for research and development, or do you know if that's?
I believe the $100 million is exclusively set aside for the dairy farmer relief. Okay, so we would not be seeing that, but we are also looking at grants that are available for Stonyfield to expand capacity, not necessarily per se in R&D, but more on the capacity and infrastructure and sustainability, reducing our carbon footprint. So we're very actively engaged looking at various grants and programs that the government has there.
Well, the good news that you just gave us for me is that you're spending 30 million, you aren't going to be running away very quick.
So what I'd like to offer to you folks, and I don't know how good it's for you guys. I don't know if you consider New Hampshire, what when you cross the line into New Hampshire, how you folks feel, but we'd love to host you. We'd love to host you folks down here for a tour if you'd ever like to see the factory, because so much milk, organic milk from New England it gets processed through here in Londonderry. And I am humble, and I'm honored, and I'm proud to have been here for the last 17 years. But we will be celebrating our 40th anniversary here from the founding with Gary and Samuel in Wilton, New Hampshire. But we'd love to have you folks here. We're very proud of the factory. Like to show you what we're doing, if that helps support what you're trying to accomplish there for the farmers.
Yeah, you're down near Concord.
We're right near the airport, just south of the airport in Manchester, a little bit further.
Yeah,
That's pretty close.
well, that's not too bad a trip from up here. Couple of hours, I'd say, depending on who's driving. Might be I'll make it quicker.
Yeah.
But,
And I can add for you is that, the last 5 years or almost 6 years, we've been part of the Lactalis group. And, I've been here 17 years, but I've been in the dairy yogurt side for nearly 40 years. And I am really pleased that the investments that Lactalis is making to the business, they're very much passionate and committed around dairy. And I would say the last 5 years, they've been exceedingly supportive and investing heavily here in Londonderry in our business.
No, other questions, for, Ralph?
Nope, thank you.
No, good.
Very good.
We're gonna be working on this, idea of helping our organic guys in the next, couple of weeks. And a couple of us in the room here, we're also on the appropriations committee. So hopefully, that's where we'll be doing bills down there. And we've had conversations with the chair of appropriations, because we were hoping that we could get this in the budget adjustment, but knowing how things work, that's only moving money around in the 23 budget. And so what we're gonna do is pass a bill and have it take effect upon passage. And so we're trying to get the bugs worked out of it before we take it to appropriations, so we can present them with a good rounded plan to move forward with helping our organic farmers. So we'll probably have another conversation with you before we get this all resolved. If you have questions, but and if you have any second thoughts, you can always send us an email or contact us any way you can, and be glad to take that into consideration. So if there are no, do you have any, Steve?
Oh,
Excuse me?
We have the attorney for the ag agency with us right now, and I just was wondering if he had any questions.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you. I guess one question that was on my mind is, and I'm so glad to hear that you're expanding, do you believe that you will have any need to cut your supply, or do you expect your supply to be either stable or increasing?
Our plan is to be stable and increasing. We do not want to get into that, not only for the farmers, but for our business itself. It's a bad proposition to follow when you're losing tons.
And I guess if I may, Senator, I know projections are almost impossible, but do you have any way to quantify what you expect for the cost of production over the next year, whether you think they'll be stable, continue to increase, or to decrease? And I know that's a really hard question, but I'm just wondering, what we're trying to figure out is how to build a bridge and not a plank. So just wondering, how do we evaluate milk pricing versus cost of production, and how do we build something that's hopefully sustainable and not just a longer path to the same end?
Yeah. Okay. Well, very good question. So Stonyfield, we took when we saw the markets changing and what was going on, we took a price increase at the end of 2021 and the beginning of a second one in the beginning of 2022, when we saw the inflationary pressures were outstripping what we had taken in the first increase. we try not to do those moves very often. Our customers do push back. There is resistance. They can make decisions on what they put on shelf. So I do not think we're forecasting any price increases in the near term, next year or two here in Londonderry. Again, that's with the current conditions are what we know right now today. We are seeing the inflationary pressures stabilizing here. We are looking at some increases for our costs of labor because we make adjustments at the beginning of the year, the first quarter of the year. So last year, and our employees had additional inflationary pressures, but we are seeing some relief, like Travis mentioned, on fuel. So not only on our inbound freight but our outbound freight, we are seeing some relief, not going back to pre 2021 levels, but some improvement. So we are building off our plans off of those assumptions, and we feel that we have some good plans going to market. So you were saying to growth. We're going to start off on what we call a long-term plan, which is a 3-year, 3 to 5 year assessment of our business. But I would say, and again, these may not sound phenomenal, but we're probably looking at a 1-2% growth on tonnage. Okay, in dairy, that is generally good without any other structural changes. But
Yeah.
Thank you.
And one last question I was thinking about, have you seen any outside organic milk outside of New England being moved or pushed into our region, or like from Texas or Mexico, or?
Nothing's coming great distances. Okay. Let me correct that a little bit. So we started our direct supply program in 2014 because there was a concern about dairy just in general. Farmer population is aging out, fewer people are getting into it, and you can look at the contraction you folks had in number of farms in Vermont over the years. We were very concerned about that. We have 35 direct supply farms, but then the rest of the milk we're sourcing, and Travis can tell you more, from Organic Valley, or we call them crop for the cooperative side of things there. Most of our fluid milk, we call farm milk, is coming from the Northeast. Okay, so it's not all coming from New England. We have some milk in that. Our direct supply is in pretty much New England. But so we do have some milk coming from New York and Pennsylvania, which concerns me a little bit of the mileage it's going, but it's not coming from, like you were concerned of Texas or out in the West. We are also a material consumer of organic non-fat dry milk. If you're on the global standard, people say skim milk powder, but we are a big consumer of the organic NFDM. Partly because of maybe supply constraints in the Northeast here of organic milk, but then also the balance that we're able to provide in organic dairy. Okay, we have some flexibility, and cows produce 7 days a week. Their seasonality is different than consumption of our consumers. So just like conventional dairy, organic dairy needs to figure out ways to balance. One way is is to put it into more storable products. And so, that is something we employ to help balance and actually lessen the devaluation of organic milk that's processed by the cooperative.
Yeah. Well, want to thank you for your time this morning, Ralph. And again, stay in touch, and we'll do what we can to help our guys stay around and produce that great milk from Vermont for you.
Well, on behalf of Stonyfield, but then also for myself personally, thank you. I think Travis mentioned this, but it's going to take a collaboration to find these solutions here. And I've really appreciated being invited to some of the Vermont meetings here to testify, or I would like to say more talk with you folks. And if there's anything we can do to assist, let me know. And I'm very sincere that we would love to have you folks tour the London Dairy facility if that would help out or be of interest to you folks.
Yeah, maybe in the spring, if we get a little free time, someday we can do a little road trip and run down and visit the operation. So thanks for the invitation.
We'd love that. And again, thank you ever so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that was good. So we'll keep working on this, and we gotta kind of work with the agency on a plan of, how's this, what they think would be the easiest and best way to work out the payment plan, and then of course we gotta figure out the numbers and cents, and
Are you thinking, Bobby, that we would do a bill or just send a recommendation
I
down?
think
or-
send a recommendation, well, we'll talk with Jane about that, whether she'd like a
Some language.
bill from us or just some language and do we don't do too many appropriations bills. So well, I mean,
Separate votes.
yeah,
Just if they have.
It's not uncommon for us to
add it.
add it to the budget.
Wow.
We take the whole language and put it in. We've done that a bunch of times.
And with the caveat that this would take effect on passage.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
We can do
Oh,
that.
some language.
So that might be a way to deal with this. So Steve, do you guys have records of what the production is that these farmers, these organic guys have produced in Vermont and all that?
Senator, I think Evie Flory could better answer that question, but I think we would need to get it from either from the producers or from the buyers. I don't think we have exact numbers, but Evie, is that not correct?
No, you're spot on, Steve. So, Senator Starr, we do get monthly information, but it's not broken down by each producer for production. So we would need to go to their cooperative or their milk purchaser to get those final numbers. And that should be either on the farmer's pay stub or a statement from the cooperative. And that type of information is what we asked for when we had the different COVID grants for dairy. Like we reviewed milk checks and things for actual pounds and stuff like that.
But you can request those numbers and receive them, or, I mean, they'll hand that information out in a.
It would be part of the application. If that was what required to determine payment, it would be part of the application for the grant.
From the farmer.
From the farmer, or if we could potentially get it from the co-ops if they were willing to share that information with us.
And how would you verify the numbers that, if you sent me one, I was having a good day, it might be less hundredweights. If I was having a bad day, I may have increased my production.
I think what would be best if you all decided to go by hundredweight, we would want the information from both the milk purchaser and also from the farmer and verifying that. So would
it be better to do it like cow numbers or hundredweights or, I mean, you know, this kind of stuff is, you gotta kind of figure it out so it's foolproof if you can.
We're currently our agency is working with other partners to try to come up what would be uniform across different management styles for organic. And trying to come up with something that would be uniform in what we're asking for and things like that. So we're trying to figure out that within our agency and working with other partners in the organic industry to try to determine that.
See, when we come back from town meeting break week, you know, I'd like to kind of get going on this and get it in and done fairly soon. Because these guys are gonna,
Yeah.
you know, once springtime comes, they're gonna need to spend quite a lot of money filling fuel tanks and things, seeds and so I guess EB will probably be working with you in regards to a process to figure out how to get this money out the door.
Yep.
And we'll work on trying to figure out what a fair amount of money will be and who would be taking part in it, so.
Yep. And we're happy to communicate with you as you wish, Senator Starr, and what we're seeing as far as like what would be equitable across the landscape. So we're still working on some of those determinations, and when we get some suggestions and things, we're happy to share that with you all. We know that you'll ultimately make what decision you think is best, and we absolutely respect that. But because there's not the same data out there as you see on the conventional market, we are trying to get an accurate picture of what challenges there's been and how to make sure that things are equitable and how it's being taken out. And whether it's myself or Steve or others at our agency, like we're more than willing to work with you all and figure out when you decide how you want to determine for each person, like what their amounts would be or what they would qualify for to turn in. We definitely want to work with to be able to administer that.
Yeah. And, yeah, when we deal with, like with what we have going, we have caps built in for the, you know, so the big guys, you know, get capped out. The federal government has plans like that. And I don't know if, you know, if that's necessary with the organic guys or not. I don't know if there's any big farms in organic or not. So, you know, we have some questions that maybe only you could answer. And I think the largest organic farm I heard of was 300 animals.
It sounds about right to me.
Yeah. But anyways, thanks, EB, Brian.
Yeah, just a quick question. When we met with the organic folks, it seemed like there were almost daily casualties. What is the current number, if you know, of organic?
I think it is 136, 134, something around that range. We're actually currently working to in our current databases at the agency, we don't distinguish between conventional and organic. So we're working with NOFA to make sure that our list is correct. The number I gave you is from NOFA. So we're working internally to have that flagged in our database so that if you all want to know, you know, in a few weeks, like exactly what it is, that we will have that information quicker for you. Because when farms do go out, it's required to be reported to our agency from the shippers and stuff. So we're working on
Okay.
that to have quicker information for you all.
Thanks, CB.
Yeah, any other questions? No, Irene, anything? No?
Thanks, EB.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you, EB.
Yes, sir.
The other issue I want to talk to the committee about is the right to farm bill. I signed that out to get it into bill form. But I'd like to make that a committee bill if the committee's agreeable.
Yep.
We'll just have it reworked into a committee bill from the whole.
Do you need all of us on it for
Yeah,
it to be a committee bill?
yeah, you're gonna be on.
But what if I vote against it?
Well, you wanna be, I can't say what, because we're still live, but I can tell you afterwards.
So I do have concerns after today's testimony. So,
Well, we're gonna work
okay,
those
all right,
out.
we'll work those out. All right,
Yeah.
that sounds good. That would,
Yeah, we don't.
Hopefully we
usually
can
bump
run those
bills out 4-1. We go 5-0. And we.
or I'll be
we
at the
work
bottom
out
of Lake
the-
Champlain.
We work out the details or work over the subject. And any, so you're all set with that, Irene, and making that a committee bill?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
I think we
okay.
do need that extra protection for the farmers. I think 25 years is too long to not look at a bill.
Yeah. So anyways, anything else from them?
So we'll work it out before it goes in as a committee bill. Is that what we'll do?
Yeah.
Okay, great. That'd be good. Thanks.
Yeah, so if you've got some concerns, you better talk with Michael.
Okay, I'll send him my
Because he's
concerns.
gonna make a couple of changes from, what we did this what we talked about
Yeah.
this morning.
Yeah,
To, make it a little more protective for the neighbor.
and then we'll look at it again. And then we'll
Yeah,
decide
we'll
if
be
it's a
back on
committee bill.
it.
Okay,
We'll be back on it,
all right.
next week. Is it Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, isn't it? Yeah, so we'll be taking it back up Wednesday.
I mean, I'll work with him and just see if I can get there. Otherwise, maybe I'll be absent that day. I do have concern. I mean, I do have some concerns, but I can talk to you about them as well.
Yeah, because I thought we were getting pretty close to.
Well, I do.
I mean, I've got some concerns about it too, but need
Yeah.
the direction and, you know.
Yeah, so I came up, I mean, I don't know if you want me to, I can go through these with Mike, but, I kept a little list here that I'm happy to kind of go through with you and Mike or everybody, whatever works.
Well, yeah, we ought to go through. them.
All right. All right, that'd be great.
No, we usually work through stuff pretty well and quite cooperatively. So, anyways, 5 noon, we're gonna get lunch today. The other day, a couple of us in there.
I never ate lunch Wednesday.
Oh, you didn't either?
You were up at the event?
Well, I had a meeting with the administration at noon every Wednesday.
So we'll adjourn the meeting and